island-wide, treating the hard-paved areas of the network. 2 weeks is left between each application to ensure that weeds have not been missed. Soft landscaped areas, these are only treated if required. Pew. What is the method of delivery? Island roads use 2 delivery methods. One is done manually with a knapsack sprayer. Shh. Excuse me, darling, can I go past? Thank you. Shh. And one is done using a quad-mounted pressure sprayer. I've put in another Freedom of Information request asking about the use of this stuff in colleges and schools and parks and other public areas. And I know that happens around the world, but I've not had a reply to that yet. But I await with bated breath. Now, here we have a situation where public areas of the Isle of Wight, and this is not just the Isle of Wight, this is places galore in Britain and around the world, America, massive use of it in America. Public places where this poison, which is designed to kill things, is sprayed around so people can quite possibly come into contact with it directly, or they can breathe it in, or whatever. And there are many other ways that it can get into the human body. And here I have just a few things on a list from an internet article here by the Organic Consumers Association that is detailing those health effects that have been connected to glyphosate and what is known in its trade name, Roundup. Alzheimer's disease, birth defects, autism, brain cancer, breast cancer, cancers of other kinds, digestive disease and gluten intolerance, chronic kidney disease, colitis, depression, diabetes, heart disease, inflammatory bowel disease, leaky gut syndrome, liver disease, multiple sclerosis, non-Hodgkin lymphoma, Parkinson's disease, pregnancy problems, infertility, miscarriages, stillbirths, obesity, reproductive problems, respiratory illnesses. And despite all that, and despite the fact that the World Health Organization has recently suggested that this stuff could well be a cause of cancer, the Isle of Wight Council and others around Britain and so many others around the world are spraying this stuff in the bloody street. Now, how many people on the Isle of Wight alone, through all this period where they've been doing this insanity, have been subject to those diseases and other health effects, and they go to the doctor or they go to the hospital, and of course no possible connection is ever made. Oh, you've got this, you've got that, you've got the other. What's caused that? Oh, I don't know. It could be, yeah. And it could be that. The evidence suggests that on so many occasions it will be that. But no, we're told it's, and government departments and council departments accept it's safe because they get their decision making in terms of what is safe and what is not from official sources. And official sources and the biotech industry are so often one and the same. Here we are dealing with a company in Monsanto that is producing this stuff, and against a background of shocking history of producing lethal chemical concoctions and potions that cause mayhem and eventually, in many cases, are banned. So that's how bad they must be for the authorities to actually ban them. We've had things like PCBs and Agent Orange. Agent Orange was the infamous, notorious, super deadly herbicide produced by Monsanto, which was applied in Vietnam to kill the foliage so they could get at people to kill them. Well, when they did that to the foliage, they didn't really have to kill them anymore, because either immediately or cumulatively and later in life, their death certificate was already signed. It is estimated, and I would suggest these are massive underestimates given what happened, it is estimated that Agent Orange, produced by Monsanto and sprayed in Vietnam by the the people who only want the best for the world. It's estimated it cost the lives of 400,000, caused 500,000 birth defects, and has caused health problems and effects for another million people. All these decades later, they're still trying to get rid of it. But despite doing that, despite the PCBs and all these other things that have caused such mayhem, councils like the Isle of Wight and all these others, government departments, are quite okay with spraying this poisonous potion called Roundup glyphosate in public areas. It's madness. Increasing numbers of countries, not enough for sure yet, are now either banning these things or talking about banning them or having some kind of debate about banning them. And we're going through the process now well, this is what happens, okay? You've got something that's poisonous because it's meant to be poisonous, because it's meant to kill things, right? And then you start getting health effects from people that seem to be connected to this poison. Well, it's a poison, right? And then you have this debate where people, academics and government departments and politicians say, well, do you think that this poison could be poisonous? Well, we can't just get rid of it and ban it. I mean, where's the evidence that this poison is poisonous? And so instead of saying, well, in case it's poisonous, we're going to get rid of it, or we're not even going to allow it on until you've shown us, Monsanto, that it's not damaging to human health, then when you've really shown us beyond doubt, then we might let you use this stuff, whatever you're coming up with next. But the opposite happens. Yeah, use it. And if it kills people, well, we'll have to ban it. Madness beyond measure. Entities in the unseen to humans is virtually everything that exists, because all that we can decode into a visual world is the most laughably tiny frequency range that scientists call visible light. So the idea that what can exist can only exist within visible light, or the world that we're aware of, is utterly ludicrous. All that exists virtually happens outside of our frequency range. And therefore, it is possible for entities, energies, awareness, whatever people want to call it, to attach to humans in the unseen and manipulate their mental and emotional processes, dictate their behavior. And like I say, this has been talked about by ancient cultures right across the world, by the shaman, and even the Roman Catholic Church has designated exorcists to remove what they call demons. And around the world, these entities have been given different names, but how they're described and how they manipulate, how they possess, is incredibly common. And the themes are incredibly common, the descriptions common. And I'm doing the possession subject this week because somebody sent me a piece of writing from someone who's known as Rumi. Rumi is a 13th century Persian poet, Islamic scholar, theologian, and Sufi mystic. And note that, 13th century. And yet what is described is what is described today in investigations and experiences that people have in relation to what is known as demonic possession. And Rumi said this: when a man is possessed by an evil spirit, the qualities of humanity are lost in him. Whatever he says is really said by that spirit, though it seems to proceed from the man's mouth. When the spirit has this rule and dominance over him, the agent is the property of the spirit and not himself. His self is departed and he has become the spirit. And this is the recurring theme that you can chart throughout human history. And like I say, different cultures give these possessing, manipulating entities different names. The Islamic world, in fact, it comes from the pre-Islamic world, call them jinn, where we get genie. They are called archons by the pagan Gnostic people. They're called flyers by Central American shaman, Chitahuri by the Zulu legends, and so it goes on. And I've been researching this a long time, and the common themes are extremely compelling. And then you come into modern times, and the same themes occur. And it's going to have to dawn on people eventually that these entities exist, that the world that we think we see is a tiny, tiny fraction of what exists, and that our reality is being manipulated in many and various ways, not just through direct possession, by entities that we can't see, but certainly impact upon people's mental, emotional states and therefore their behavior. And some of the ways that these entities are described is they're so close to each other. For instance, the jinn are described as being made from smokeless fire.